Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Eat, Travel, Create. We hope you're going to enjoy today's show. This is going to be our first show with our new co-host, Todd Gregory. And also, we have a wonderful guest all the way from San Francisco, California. So, without further ado, let's get started with our co-host, Todd. You are live. Welcome, buddy.
Hey. How's everybody? How are you, Chris?
Not bad. I'm a little groggy. This is the first show that I've done where I'm actually up in the wee hours of the morning. We accommodated the time for our guests. So if I sound a little groggy and look like I just woke up, I actually did not that long ago. But I'm going to make the best of it.
Yeah.
Todd, who's our guest today? That was your line.
Who
You were
is our
supposed to
guest?
say that. You were supposed to
I
say
know,
that.
but can I take a sip of my beverage and go? So, Chris, who's our guest today?
Well, Todd, today our guest is a longtime friend of mine. A great
You
person.
have a longtime friend.
I actually have a longtime friend. We've been friends for quite a while in San Francisco.
Does he know?
I hope he knows. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. If he acts like he doesn't know me when he comes in, we'll know. Like, who are you? We know that I was stretching things a little bit. Well, anyway, let's bring him in. His name is Joe Lopez, and he's from San Francisco, California.
Joe Lopez.
Hi. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Joe. So you were in beautiful San Francisco, right?
I'm technically not. I'm in Alameda. It's an island between San Francisco and Oakland, closer to Oakland. Just given the climate of what's happening in San Francisco right now, I'm probably not a resident. So, yeah.
I like that. Hey, so in the PC world that we live in, do we have to start apologizing to all the folks who live in San Francisco?
I don't believe in apologies, except for my wife. I save them all for her because it's, I'm either saying the wrong thing or I'm apologizing, and that's about it. That's how we communicate.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah. Wait a minute.
So Joe, okay, let me take over, guys. So Joe, you are a creative director, okay?
Oh.
So for the sake, I know what a creative director does, but for the sake of our audience, can you let us know what actually does a creative director in an organization do?
That's a big question.
Thank you.
Honestly, though, it depends on, where you're a creative director and what you're a creative director of.
Mm-hmm.
There's creative directors of cinematography. There's creative directors for fashion. There's creative directors for magazines and advertising agencies, movies, video games, you name it. And each job description is going to vary according to your specialty. So I'm in an advertising agency. That makes me the head of the creative team. So I have to, be involved pretty much in all the work that comes out. I have to work with my team. I have to make sure that we're on target, that the work's creative, that it's effective, that we're giving the client what they want. And it could be any form of media. It could be film, it could be web, print, out of home, you name it. We work on it, and I'm the creative director. Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
Joe, how did you get started being a creative director? I mean, is this something that it's a natural gift that just came to you, or was there some training or anything that that was involved for you?
No, it's funny. I went to college. I mean, this does go all the way back to school. I thought I was a big shot because I was a really good, artist in high school. I'm great. I can paint and draw so good. I was so proud of myself. Like, mom's refrigerator, decorated my whole life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Magnets. Look at my
It
little
was-
Joe.
Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. But then I went to a school in Detroit, Michigan.
In the
And-
D.
in
What?
the D. Yeah, that's where I'm from. So I went to school there, and it's a good school. It's a good art college, and people from all around the world they come and they go to school there. Students from there's a lot of Europeans there, a lot of Russians. I found that Russian art students, for me, from my experience, were heads and tails above all of us. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah. They it was embarrassing because I found in Russia that they start nurturing your talents at a very young age, and
Mm.
start training you to be great from the time you're in elementary school. So these kids were so far beyond us, which was part of my humbling of walking into the school like, I'm so awesome and I'm going to be a great artist when I grow up. Here I am, just turning 18, and I realized, wow, I'm not that awesome. Um, Mom, take that off the fridge. Take that off the fridge, Mom. I don't deserve fridge time anymore.
Wow.
Dimitri's coming over. I can't have him seeing that.
Kids, yes, you know, just
Wow. Wow. So
yeah,
you were actually educated into this
yeah,
field.
yeah. So yeah, you go to the school, and I have a bachelor's in fine arts, but then you specialize in something. And I wanted to be an illustrator, like I said, until I realized, like, wow, like, yeah, I'm good, but on an international level, I'm not great. And I wanted to make
Right.
this my career. And I mean, yeah, we all hear the adage of the starving artist. I
Interesting.
do.
So, Joe, what would be some of the, I would say, what would be some of your favorite parts to your job, and what would be some of your least favorite parts?
Oh boy. Um, you know, the favorite part is just, I think mostly artists know this, but I think everybody has the capacity to get into that flow state when you're thinking of creative solutions, and time kind of disappears,
Mm-hmm.
and your surroundings disappear, and it's strange. And this is where a lot of people are like, is he talking about being high? And I'm not. I'm just
Are you
literally
sure,
talking
Joe?
about,
Are you sure? With this
I'm
Metallica
I,
t-shirt?
I'm
Anyway.
I'm not even sure where I'm at right now, man. But no, it's obviously something that's psychologically proven, this flow state that one gets in. And it's a cool place to be, and it's a great way to come up with ideas, and it's a pleasing moment of existence, and I like
Exactly.
that. And oh, go
So
ahead,
do you
please.
get that when you're initiating the project? Do you get it while, because you film, and we'll show the audience some examples of your work. But when you're on the set, like, when do you get into this flow state? At what stage of the project, or it varies depending
that's
on the project?
that's near the beginning, almost always. That's alone time. It's when, and I'll be honest, creative directors usually are overseeing other people's work, but I'm still very hands on. Not because I'm demanding to be, but I'm at a small agency, and in fact, I think most agencies nowadays run lean. I think
Mm-hmm.
you're expected to wear many hats now. So honestly, it's just keeping myself relevant. But so it's at that stage when I sit down and I have a creative brief in front of me, and I have to turn that brief into reality. Like, how do I take this data and turn it into something creative, hopefully in a perspective that the world's never seen it or thought about it, and give it back to everybody in a way that just makes them say, "Hey, that's pretty cool. I identify with that." Um,
Wow.
so
Wow. That's interesting. That brings up another point. It kind of leads into the next question. How do you stay current and creative with your work, and stay current with the trends? And I think you were leading into that.
um, you know, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to bridge the two. Now, I wasn't fully leading into that, if I'm going to be 100%,
You
but
didn't
I'm
know
going to
you
go with
were.
it.
I
I mean,
just directed
actually,
you there, Joe. Don't
I
worry
did.
about it.
I did see the questions, but you know, I guess you got to stay current in general, especially with what happening from a production standpoint. So you never want design to look outdated. So you always have to be up on looking at lots of different websites, whether or not it interests you. You have to see what's happening with a lot of shows and movies. You don't even have to necessarily have to watch them all the way through. You just have to see enough to understand what the baseline of current production trends are, just so you don't get too far out of the realm of them. Even if you're trying to
Exactly.
trailblaze, you still have to acknowledge relevance to what people can identify with, or you're going to lose your audience.
What would be a project that you would love to work on? That's not something you've done already, but we talk about a dream project that you would love to work on. And what would be your role in that project?
I'd probably like to either make a documentary, or that gets played literally in theaters, or a series, like a series that gets picked up on a streaming platform, a big platform like Netflix or something. That's the goal, and hopefully one day it'll happen. And I'd want to write it, and I would want to direct it on set. I'd want to run it.
Wow, very cool.
Listen, Joe, here's another one. Now, being a human, we're not one dimensional. So, what other creative outlets do you have?
Okay. I love reading and listening to music, hiking, biking, and playing video games. That's what I do. And I watch anime with my son.
Oh, very cool. Speaking of anime, I know this is totally off topic, but you made me think of this. Did you remember Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, are you gonna go into the live thing now? Is that what you're? Is this what
Yeah,
we're going
I
into?
just saw the other day they're making a live movie with Cowboy Bebop with John Cho. So and
That's some classic stuff, Cowboy Bebop. Okay.
yeah, you should check out the trailer for that. That they did some interesting cinematography with that movie.
I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, check out the trailer. Not that I'm
Yeah,
plugging Cowboy Bebop,
I know.
but
No, but I mean, it's cool. It's cool. Like even now, I mean, earlier Todd was asking about, staying relevant. Sometimes, it's not even about staying relevant, about what's current to be great at what you do in the field of art. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's just knowing some of the greatest stuff and knowing when to pull from that at the right moment. I
mhm,
mean, Cowboy Bebop, if you watch the introduction to that cartoon, I don't care who you are, the amount of graphic design
mhm,
and art direction that went into that design of how that cartoon starts with that jazz is
mhm.
phenomenal. That's phenomenal, and that will always be relevant.
Yeah, I actually got turned on to Cowboy Bebop through the soundtrack. One of
Sure.
my friends sent me the soundtrack, and there was one song in particular called "Yo Pumpkinhead," and I really liked that song, and that's what got me started on Cowboy Bebop. But anyway,
There you go.
we won't
Hey, and
continue to plug
anime.
that.
Speaking of anime, have you,
Hmm.
Joe? Have you seen the anime version of Star Wars?
I have not. I have not. I don't have the whole Disney Plus thing,
Oh,
because that's on. It's
it's
on Disney
dope.
Plus, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But you ought to check that out since you're a Star Wars fan, and that's okay. You'll grow up soon. Anyway,
You know, I
I'm just throwing these jabs, and you know what? I'm just playing with you. Don't get offended.
truth be
Don't
told,
get
I don't
offended.
even know if I'm a huge Star Wars fan anymore because of just. I feel like Disney ruined everything that was ever cool. From comic books to sci-fi, they've just like took a big dump in the punch bowl. But it doesn't change the fact that I want a lightsaber.
Yeah,
So it
I
just
do
is what
too.
it is.
yeah,
Yeah, see, and that's all
Meditate.
I said for the record earlier. I just mentioned I want a lightsaber.
yeah.
And I do. I do.
Cool. So, Joe,
Okay.
let's do this. Let's switch gears and let's actually check out some of your projects. Okay. So, audience, Joe sent me some video clips and we're going to play a couple for you right now.
Through time, masks have told the story of heritage and cultural pride. Today, we unite to wear the most important mask in human history. We fight as one against the double threat of COVID-19 and the flu. The East Bay has a heritage of community pride, one of coming together, protecting its own, and finding a way to overcome. This too shall pass, and we will stand. Mask up.
My grandma is my hero. She got hurt so bad she needed surgery. Grandma didn't want to live at the hospital, so this physical therapist guy came to her house and we all exercised. Grandma talked to her doctor on the computer, and nurses came to her house because everyone wanted her to get better. And she even said I helped make her strong. But I think she was already strong, and that's why my grandma is my hero. I love you, Grandma. Choose home, choose Wilshire.
Wow, Joe, thanks so much for sharing your experiences with us. We really, really appreciate it. We learned a lot. I know I did. Did you learn a lot, Todd?
I did. I just learned a lot listening to you two, and it's pretty exciting. I'm going to peer into it a little more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Joe, thanks again for being on the show. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon.
Man, Chris, that was, I had no idea that you were part of that world, man. That's pretty interesting. I'm impressed.
I you know what's so funny? When we've talked about this before, and I've told you how much I really enjoy doing videos and filming and being on set and directing. I absolutely love it. That's when I get in my zone, when I'm doing something like that. And I just hope, one day I get to do it again soon, before I get too rusty. This episode of The More You Know is a special gift to all you coffee lovers out there. And being one myself, it's a special gift to me also. Today, we are going on a short, fact-filled journey of the origins of coffee, from its humble beginnings to its present-day status as the third most consumed beverage in the world. And by the end of this brief journey, the hope is that you will have even more appreciation for this ubiquitous drink enjoyed by billions of people around the world every day. So let's get started. It's believed that the ancestors of today's Oromo people in the region of Oromia in Ethiopia were the first ones to cultivate the coffee plant and to recognize the energizing effect of roasted coffee beans. One account among many about coffee's origin attributes its discovery to a guy named Omar, who was a disciple of a well-known sheikh in the area. Now, this guy Omar chewed berries from shrubbery, but he found them to be bitter. He tried roasting the beans to improve the flavor, but then they became hard. He then tried boiling them to soften the bean, which resulted in a fragrant brown liquid. Now, after drinking the liquid, Omar was rejuvenated and survived for days. As stories of this miracle drug reached Mecca, Omar was asked to return and he was made a saint. As you would imagine, coffee then was primarily consumed in the Islamic world where it originated, and in most cases was directly related to religious practices. For example, coffee helped its consumers fast in the day and stay awake at night during Muslim celebration of Ramadan. Now, coffee was first introduced to Europe in Hungary when the Turks invaded Hungary at the Battle of Mohacs in 1526. Now, within a year, coffee had reached Vienna by those same Turks who fought the Europeans at the Siege of Vienna in 1529. In 1580, the Venetian botanist and physician Prospero Alpini imported coffee into the Republic of Venice from Egypt, and soon coffee shops started opening one after another as coffee spread and became the drink of choice of the intellectuals, people at social gatherings, and even of lovers, as plates of chocolate and coffee were considered a romantic gift at that time. By the year 1763, Venice alone accounted for more than 200 coffee shops. And the health benefits of this miraculous new drink were celebrated by many people in that area. However, some representatives of the Catholic Church opposed coffee at its first introduction into Italy, believing it to be the devil's drink. However, that all changed when Pope Clement VIII tried this aromatic drink himself and afterwards gave it his blessing. thus boosting further coffee's commercial success and diffusion around Italy and around Europe. By the 1700s, coffee found its way to the Americas, and especially after the Boston Tea Party of 1773, large numbers of Americans switched to coffee drinking during the American Revolution because drinking tea had become unpatriotic. Although domestic production of the coffee plant started in Ethiopia, and most of its production was centered around that area for the first few hundred years, by the mid-1800s, however, most of the coffee production shifted to the Americas after its introduction to the Caribbean and South America. Brazil, in particular, became the largest producer of coffee in the world by 1852, and it's held that status basically ever since. It has dominated world coffee production, exporting more coffee by the 1950s than the rest of the world combined. In 2019, Brazil produced 5 million pounds of coffee, more than the next two countries of Vietnam and Colombia combined. Now let's switch gears for a second and talk about the coffee bean itself. Basically, there are four main coffee types. They are Arabica, Robusta, Excelsior, and Liberica. And all four of these coffee types have radically different taste profiles. For example, Arabica beans, which are the most commonly produced variety of coffee beans and account for over 60% of coffee beans that are produced in the world, these beans grow at high altitudes and they need to be in an area that has steady rainfall and plenty of shade. And their taste profile makes them full of flavor and aroma. The next variety of coffee bean is Robusta, and Robusta beans are the second most produced in the world. And as the name hints, Robusta means that they're both hardy and generally immune to a variety of diseases. Now, the Robusta beans grow best in a hot climate with irregular rainfall, but they can grow at a number of altitudes also. Now, these beans generally have a smooth texture, and it's often said that they have a slight chocolate hint to them, which makes them ideal to have with milk and sugar. Now, one of the hardest types of coffee bean to come by is the Liberica bean. They're generally larger than the other beans, and they're the only ones in the world known to have an irregular shape. Liberica beans are also unique in their taste profile. They're generally smoky, but they can also have a fruity and a floral taste also. Now, although having been classified recently as a member of the Liberica family, the Excelsior bean has a vastly different taste profile than the Liberica bean. Now, if you're a real coffee connoisseur, or what they call a coffee snob, and you have a lot of money to throw around, you might want to check out the top 5 most expensive coffees in the world that you can buy. Number 5, at about $60 per pound, Molokai coffee. Number 4, at about $145 per pound, St. Helena coffee. Number 3, Finca El Injerto at about $500 per pound. Now, for number 2 and number 1, in addition to spending a lot of money for your coffee, you also will have to be quite okay with your coffee beans taking a little detour through the intestinal tract of an animal. Because at number 2, Kopi Luwak, at about $600 per pound, those beans have taken a little detour through the intestinal tract of a civet. Number 1, at about $1,500 per pound, Black Ivory coffee, those beans have taken their detour through the intestinal tract of an elephant. So, something to think about if you got the money and you're open to a lot of adventure. And speaking of coffee consumption statistics show that around the world, 30 to 40% of the world's population consume coffee every single day. In the United States, these figures are much higher and equate to about 65% of the total population. However, the true coffee addicts are the Europeans. Europeans drink record amounts of coffee per capita every single day, with the Scandinavians leading the way. The Finns, the Dutch, and the Swedes drink between 9 to 10 kilograms of coffee per person annually. It's a lot of coffee. One interesting fact is that coffee is drunk most by workers of scientific and educational spheres. That's interesting. As well as advertisers, designers, artists, and office workers. It turns out that the intellectual work sphere requires more coffee compared to other professions where a person is more involved physically. Creative people, in fact, shape the culture of coffee, and the image of a successful and attractive person today is hard to imagine without a cup of coffee. However, no matter what your budget is, where you live in the world, or what you do for a living, if you enjoy starting your day, continuing your day, or even ending your day with a nice hot cup of coffee, you're going to be in good company. And that is the more you know. Well, folks, thanks a lot for checking out our show today. Thanks again to my wonderful cousin Todd for really making this show fun and interesting. I hope it becomes a regular thing. I hope we get a big audience and more and more people tune in. Well, folks, that's a wrap on another show. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more shows like this, no problem. Just subscribe to my channel. It's super easy. Click on the subscribe button, then click notifications, and every time I upload a new show, you'll be the very first one to know. Also, if you'd like to be on the show, or maybe you know someone wants to be on the show, no problem. I'll leave my information down in the description. Just give me a call and let me know. Until then, eat well, travel a lot, and be as creative as humanly possible. Ciao.